Hi, good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
Afternoon, sir. Afternoon.
There's a hand. Decades. Lens, you have something to say or to ask? Good afternoon once again. Guys, today we are continuing with our unit 1. But today what we'll be covering, it will be price elasticity of demand and supply. But before we start with our new topic, I would like us to just to reflect a bit about what we have done on Monday. Monday, we were doing, or we discussed demand and supply. And I believe now you are able to define what is demand and what is supply, and you know what is the relationship. Looking at demand, what is the relationship between quantity of the product and the price of the product? How is the relationship? And we said the relationship in that case, we have a negative relationship. When the price goes high, the demand of the product goes down. Those are some of the things that we touched on Monday. And we went further where we even sketched the graph of that using the linear function that was given to us. We discussed, I don't know, should I accept these people? Okay. We went further where we were discussing supply, where we said that supply is the quantity of the product or service that is made available there in the market, depending on the given price. And we said the relationship between the quantity of products and the price of the product itself is positive. So it means if the price increases, okay, the quantity of the products also increase. It means they go together as compared to your demand. That's what we discussed, and we even sketched the graph of it. So I believe now you are able to distinguish between the graph of demand and supply, and you know how to define both terms. Like I said, today we'll be discussing price elasticity of the demand and supply. So this is the continuation of what we have done on Monday. So the first thing that we have to ask ourselves, what is elasticity? Can someone explain that to us on your own words? What comes to your mind when you hear the word elasticity? Or what is something which is elastic? Can you give me an example, something which is elastic and something which is not elastic?
I think elastic is a number that is less than 0. Inelastic is less than, and elastic it's above 1. It's 1 and above, I think.
So elastic is about 1. Inelastic is less than 1. Okay, thank you for that. I saw a hand. Is it Umi? Umi-san?
Evening, sir.
Evening.
Sorry, but he answered the question for us. For me, like when you asked it, I thought like explaining it in simple terms, like when something is elastic, it stretches, and if it's inelastic, it doesn't stretch. So, but he answered that question for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you also for your simple explanation of something which is elastic and inelastic. Okay. Elasticity, we talk about responsiveness of change. So this change, remember, we're going to look this change from 2 different ways, from the supply side and also from Not supply, yes. Yes, supply side and the demand. But firstly, we'll start with the demand. But now let's go to our slide and just have a bit of discussion before we go deeper. We share with you guys. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, sir, I can see your slide.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, the topic of the day is price elasticity of demand and supply. And it means by the end of the session, we must be able to define what is price elasticity and elasticity itself and price elasticity of supply. So like I said, when you talk about elasticity, we refer to the responsiveness the responsiveness to change. So one, the price elasticity itself, we are saying that sensitive or responsiveness of quantity demanded, or supplied to change in the price. That is the definition of the elasticity itself. Then, like I said, others, they're saying elasticity. Why are we using this elasticity? We are using this elasticity to measure, again, maybe the sensitiveness of the quantity demanded or supplied to change in an economic variable such as price. Others, they can use an income. It's one of the examples that it can be our variable. So like I said, we have price elasticity of demand, which is also, you can be able to see that it also derived from that definition of elasticity itself. But now we are saying this price elasticity demand is a measure of how demand responds to the increase or decrease of the price of the goods or service. That is the definition of price elasticity of demand. And also we have the definition, which is similar. There's not much difference between the price elasticity of the demand and supply. It's also measuring how the supply responds to the increase or decrease in price of the goods or service. So these are the definition of the important terms that we're going to calculate in this section. So we have categories of elasticity. So we have 3 categories of elasticity.
Yeah.
So I hear a voice. As someone talking?
My apologies, sir. My apologies.
Okay, thank you. As I was saying, we have 3 categories of elasticity. The first one is elastic. So what do we mean when we say elastic? Elastic, we are talking about the strong responsiveness. This responsiveness is the change of quantity demand, if we're looking from the demand side, quantity demand and the price. So what is the meaning of the strong response? The strong response, it means, is the change of the quantity, which is more than the price itself. So if we have 95% of demand and we have maybe 20% of the price, it means that indicates the strong responsiveness, and that we take it as elastic. Number 2, we have inelastic. Elastic is the weak response. So that means when we are saying it's a weak response, that means the change in demand that's less than the price. The change in demand is less than the price. Where we said elastic, the strong response, meaning the change in price, it's more than the price. The change in demand is more than the price. The change in quality demand, yes, the change in quality demand is less than the price. That is elastic. Inelastic, we are saying, is weak response. What does that weak response means? It means the change in quantity demand, it's less than the price. Then we have unit elastic. Unit elastic, it means it's an equally response. What do we mean when you say it's an equal response? That means the change in price, the change in quantity demand is equals to the change in price.
Sorry, sir. It seems that you're talking and we can't hear you. I'm sure you're on mute.
Okay, thank you. Well, what is the last part that you heard from me? Hello?
Hi, you spoke about units elasticity, saying that
Okay, that is
they're equally responsive. The change in quantity demand is equal to the price.
okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Let me go back to my slides. Okay, yes, I was explaining the last category of elasticity, and I said unit elasticity, they're saying is equal responsive, meaning the equal responsive is the change in quantity demand, which is equals to the price itself. So it means if the quantity increased by 20%, the price also increased by 20%. So that is equal responsive. Then we have our coefficient of elasticity. So the first one, if you remember the first, I asked the question about elasticity. There was a person who answered me when he was talking about elasticity. Elasticity is greater than 1. When it's greater than 1, it means it's elastic. When it's less than 1, it's inelastic. So he was responding to this coefficient of elasticity. So we have 3 coefficient of elasticity that goes together with our categories of elasticity. And we are saying, if you calculate the value of elasticity and you find the value, it's greater than 1, that tells you that it's elastic. That is elastic. If you are calculating, for example, you are calculating price elasticity of demand and you find the value of that elasticity demand is greater than 1, that tells you that, okay, the price is elastic. But again, if you happen that you have to compute the maybe supply of the or demand again, and you find that the calculated value it's less than 1, that tells you that isn't elastic. So it means the responsive is weak. Then if it happened again, you calculate or you compute the elasticity can be elasticity of demand or supply, and it happened that you get exactly 1 as the calculated value of elasticity. That tells you that you have unit elasticity. So these are the important things that we're supposed to know about elasticity, the price elasticity of demand and supply. So what you're going to do now, you're going to take few examples and derive few formulas that will help us to calculate or compute elasticity of demand and supply. Any question before I start maybe starting to derive the first formula of price elasticity of demand? Questions? Questions, guys?
I don't have a question at this stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me do this quick so I can be able to. Just give me a minute. Are you able to see a blank page?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Like I said, we spoke about the definition, different definitions, what others are thinking about elasticity, how did they define elasticity, demand and supply. So now, first thing that you're going to do before we can compute elasticity of demand, we have to know how do we calculate it and how we derive it. And we are saying, if you remember from the previous session, we said demand I'm referring to the linear function of demand, where the demand function we said is Q equals to A minus B times P. So this is where we started. So now for us to come up with the price elasticity of demand formula that you're going to use to calculate it, it means this was derived from this, from the demand function. So we are saying, what are we deriving? We're deriving price elasticity of demand. So we are saying this is, how do we denote it? We have subscript D. So that D represent demand. So we are saying the formula is equals to percent change in quantity demand. I'll just say D, that is demand because of the space. Oh, let me see, maybe I can change layout. Let me try and see. Okay, it's better. Demand. So nominator there will be change in price. So we say equals to 100% change in Q, change in P equals to. If you remember the last time when we were talking about the slope, we said in this case, our slope is negative. And we said, how do we calculate our slope? We said our slope is changing Q, if you still remember that. And this is how we calculate our slope. I was just reminding you. So we continue. We say now, okay, our interest is up here, our numerators. We have change in Q. Then we say, what is change in Q? For us to know what is change in Q, we say change Q divided by Q times 100. Where do we get this? If you remember, if you are given, let's say we are given A, these are the product, B, C, D. Let's say this is the product. This is P, let's say product. Then we have, let's say we have price, or let's say Q here, quantity. Then we have price. 2, 3, 4, 5. 9,765. So what do you see here? It's from here. The numerator part, it means this is the part of our numerator. There'll be a point where we are going to use this formula, given the numbers like this. So it means this formula can be used here to come up with a Cartesian plane, where we say, okay, this is the old price, this is the change. So the change is the new price. This is the old price, this is the new price. This is the old price, this is the new price. So we are saying, okay, this part is our numerator. So we do the same also to the side of our prices, where we say change in price, divide by price times 100. So we continue. So this is a division sign. So we want to simplify this. So if we simplify it, it means we're going to have change in quantity, divide by Q, sorry. So when you divide by Q, then we multiply it. So when you multiply, it means our numerators there, they have to come this side. And you know that when you multiply that, when you do cross multiplication, so it means your denominator becomes your new numerators. So in case we'll be having, we have P there, changing in P. So at the end, we'll be having change in Q, divide by change in P, which is times P and Q. And if you remember, I showed you this. I was just reminding you, like I said, I was reminding you that you remember how do we calculate our slope? And we said our slope is the change in Q divided by changing in P. So if you look at this part, where is it? This part is the same as this one. And remember, we are saying negative slope of demand function is equals to change in Q divided by change in P. So if we are saying these are equal, it means in this equation, where we see now change in Q divided by change in P, we can replace that by negative B. So that means we are going to have, let me say equals to negative B now, times P divided by Q. So it means this formula represents price elasticity of demand, which is E subscript D. So our formula there is negative B times P divided by Q. Questions? Guys, I won't be able to see your hands. You can just ask us now where I am. I won't be able to see your hands.
No question at this point, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we are saying, looking at the very same formula, where we say elasticity of demand, we said is equals to negative B, which is our slope, times P divided by Q. We can extend this formula because if you remember in our previous class, we said Q is equals to A minus B times, why am I writing Q? Times P. So if we are saying Q is equals to A minus B times Q, it means where we see from this formula, where we see Q, we can replace it by A minus B times P. So what I'm saying is this, we are saying elasticity of demand equals to minus B times, this is what I'm talking about. We have Q here and we are saying Q from the demand function, Q is equals to A minus B times P. So we are saying P there, open bracket, and now instead of now writing Q, you can say A minus B P. So that is our formula. So these are formulas that we are going to use when we want to calculate or compute the price elasticity of demand. You can use this one, depending on the given information, or this one. Then we have what is called a point price elasticity of demand. So where we're given our point. So the formula that we are going to use in that case is, D equals to the change in Q divide by the change in P times the given point where we have P there, divide by Q. And we still remember that this is our slope. Change in Q divide by change in P is our slope. Where we said our slope, if you remember, this is our slope from the demand function equation, which is minus B times PO divided by QO. So this is the formula that we use when we calculate the point elasticity given a point. So there will be a point whereby you'll be given 2 points. So you know when you're given points and you have equation, and your equation you are given your slope, this is the formula to use in order to get the value of elasticity of demand. Let's take an example. Okay, we'll take an example from our study guide. We are given a demand function there, and the question says, the demand function for a certain kind of computer is given by. So the demand function there is Q equals to 4,800 minus 2P, where we know that Q represent our quantity of products, 2, and P there represent our price of product. So, and question continues, say, let's determine the point elasticity of demand when P, let me just rewrite this. The question continues, says, let's determine the point of demand when we are given various prices. The first price there is 1,800. The second price is equals to 1,200, and the last one is equals to 600. So what we're supposed to do here is to find elasticity of demand, the price elasticity of demand. So we're given various prices. We'll start with the first one. First one is P is equals to 1,800. And we are saying the formula that is given to us actually is not given to us. You're supposed to know it. It's elasticity subscript E subscript D equals to, if you remember your formula, it's negative B times P divided by Q. So it means this is the formula that you're going to use. And the first thing, if you look at this information, we're given the value of P, but we don't know what is the actual value of Q. So for us now to be able to substitute from the given formula of price elasticity of demand, first thing we'll have to use the given function of demand so we can be able to have the value of Q. So we say Q equals to 4,800 minus 2P. This is the given equation. Now from the given equation, like I said, we're going to take the first price that is given to us. So we say, okay, P is equals to 1,800. So meaning from the given equation, now where we see P, we substitute it by 1,800. Then we have 4,800 minus 2 times 1,800. So when we do that, we get our value, which is 1,200. So in this case now, we know number of quantities and we know the price, where now the price is 1,800 and the quantity of the products is 1,200. So what do we do now? We look at our formula. So we say, okay, our formula is negative B, which is B is our slope. And we have our slope from the given equation there. This is the value of slope. It means this negative 2 is our negative B. So we say, okay, now we know what is our slope. Our slope is negative 2. Okay, we didn't have the quantity, but now we do after doing the calculations from the given demand function. So we say multiply, can say big brackets. There we say multiply by, what is our P? Our P is 1,800 divided by Q. The Q, we are using the calculated Q. The calculated Q there is 1,200. And we simplify, we multiply. We'll deal with what is in the brackets and we multiply, we ended up having negative 3. So if you remember dealing with absolute values, if you go back to your study guide, you will see that we have as elasticity, this is demand. Then once we remove this, it means automatically it becomes 3. So now, before we make our conclusion to know, so we look at the value, then we go back to our categories, not categories, I mean, we go to our coefficient of elasticity. So we look at, we are saying this is the value, this value 3. Then now removing this, absolute, making it absolute value. We see that, okay, 3 now is positive. Then we'll have to compare this value with our category, or not our category, our coefficient of elasticity. So you remember we're given 3 coefficient of elasticity, where we said elasticity in case of the elasticity of demand is greater than 1. It's less than 1. Is equals to 1. So it means we are going to make our conclusion. We look at our value, then our conclusion is going to be made based on the coefficient. So we can see, okay, 3, where does this 3 falls? It falls here. So it means if we remove this, we are saying, okay, since well, we are saying elasticity of demand is equals to 3. So meaning here we can put 3 and we can see 3 is greater than 1. So it means when the 3 is greater than 1, so meaning our conclusion, we are saying this is elastic because it's greater than 1. questions before I move forward?
Hi, Doc. Question. Coefficient,
Hello.
right? Hello.
Yes, I'm listening.
From the
Yes.
formula of E,
Can you kindly
right?
please
We have a
re-explain
From the
negative.
formula,
how
which
we
formula?
concluded
The
three?
first one, the one with the slope of
I
negative
hear
2.
two voices. Can
negative
you just give each other a chance? Maybe the lady first, then brother, you come after. Let's give the
Okay.
lady first a chance.
Okay.
We are listening.
Yes. Can you re-explain how we concluded it to be 3? I didn't get that part.
How did we?
Conclude it to be 3.
To be 3. Okay, if you look at your
because
calculations, okay, if you look at your calculations, when we're doing calculations, we said, okay, our value is -3. Are we together?
yes, yes.
Yes. So now, looking at this rule, so when we apply this rule to make it absolute value, so when we remove this, automatically that remove the negative sign. No? Hello?
Yes, sir.
If you go back to the first part of price elasticity, the last part where we're talking about the numerical value of E that represent elasticity, where it's called absolute value. You see that?
Yes, sir.
If you visit the study guide, yes, that's what we apply. So after our answer, we apply that rule. When we apply it, then if our answer is negative, that rule, when we apply it, removes the negative side. But if the answer is positive, we leave it as positive because we believe
Okay.
every value is positive.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. My brother.
Okay, Doc. From our elasticity demand equation, right? We have a negative B there. However, still our slope at the top there is negative. Do those signs not cancel each other out, or?
Where?
Because I know
Where?
negative.
Which negative?
From the slope, from the demand function slope, right? Is 4,800 minus 2p, right?
Yes.
Which means my slope is negative p, negative 2, right?
Yes.
However, now when you come to the demand function, to the elasticity, the negative is already
We are here
the
now.
negative.
We are here.
Right.
Sorry. We are here. This is what you're talking about, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that negative and the one of the slope, do they not cancel each other out?
No, it's the same negative. Remember, we are saying the slope of demand is negative. The slope of supply is positive.
Yes, what I'm asking is, if already I have a negative slope there in the question, do I not need to factor it in when I say maybe -2 into brackets, right? And then the negative put outside the brackets. Is that negative from the 2 or okay?
Let me explain it like this. If you remember the original formula, it says Q is equals to A minus B P. Are we together? So from the origin, the slope is negative. So it means the equation was given, the value was given as a negative value because of now we are saying, okay, the equation, the function of demand, it has a negative slope. So there will always be a negative value here. Maybe it can be 1, but
even
it
if
will always be negative.
Okay, even if the function itself from the equation already has a -4, that -4 I just substituted into the equation as is and work from there.
Yes. Look at this. This is the original function. So the original function here, we are saying the original E is equals to change in Q divided by change in P. This is how it is. So it
Okay.
means any value that
I
will be
think
given to
we-
you in this function, always
clear.
it will come negative.
Okay, I'm clear now. Thanks.
Okay. Questions?
Okay, so I want to know how did we get the -3? I just missed that part.
-3. If you look at your equation, this is your original function, right?
Yes.
So your original function, if you look at the coefficient here, the coefficient, it has a negative sign. You see that?
Yes.
So this is the negative sign of our coefficient. Our coefficient here is our B in this case is -2. That is why you see -2 here. Then you simplify what you have in the brackets and you multiply. That is why we ended up having -3.
Oh, okay. So thank you.
Okay. Can I move forward or there's still other questions?
But yeah, I have a question, Dr. Tabo.
Okay.
Do you always apply with the -3 and the 3 thing? Do you always apply it? Or is it just with the price elasticity of demand, or you also apply it with the supply demand?
Yes, we're going to do the supply part. Now this is only the demand part. So also apply the same thing when it comes to the demand part, but we'll have their own formulas. Maybe somewhere they will be different as compared to your demand.
Also, for now, it can never be -3. It should just be +3.
Yes, it's always positive. It's always positive. So when you apply this, by removing this absolute value, for absolute value, it becomes positive. Because we are saying, this, if you remember, you're dealing with determinants. Determinants, it helps us to remove the negative sign. If our final answer becomes negative. But if it's positive, we ended up having +3. We leave it as +3.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone before we move? Okay, I want you guys to do the second one. Where now our P is, we've done where our P is 1,800. Can you do the one of 1,200? Just 2 minutes, 1,200. Give me the value of, or just to make it interesting, instead of now you guys using the given price then, just use P as 1,000 rand and give me the value. Our P now is 1,000 rand using the same function. What I'm saying, our function is still the same. Q equals to 4,800 minus 2P. But now price in this case, the given price is 1,000 rand. So I want you guys to give me the elasticity of demand. What is going to be our elasticity of demand if P is 1,000?
Sir.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
I'm listening.
If P is 1,000, then our elasticity of demand becomes 0.7.
0.7.
Yes. It is -0.7, so I took the negative out.
So you said, okay, this is our P, right? This is our B, right?
Pardon?
I'm saying this is our B. Okay, let me
You
do
said
this.
you said if P is equals to 1,000, then our elasticity becomes -0.7.
-0.7.
Yes. So
So you are
then
saying you had -2, and now your price here. What is your price?
my price is 1,000
Times 1,000. Okay, let me do the brackets. 1,000. Divide.
divided by I just substituted the P with the the Q with the equation. So let me just calculate it that now.
What's the Q? I want the value of Q.
2,800.
How much?
2,800.
2,800.
2,800. Okay. What do we have?
Okay, so it's 1,000 divided by 2,800. It's 0.357.
0.357. Okay. Final answer.
Negative 0.714.
Negative
0.714.
0.714. Okay, if it's 4, it's not going to change 1. We can leave it as. So it means when we apply that, we have positive 0.1. So now we go back to our laws, our coefficient, and we are saying it's less than 1. So it means when it's less than 1, in this case, it becomes
inelastic.
Yes, it becomes inelastic.
Inelastic.
So that's how we. Pardon? Hello?
Now, sir, my confusion is, what does that answer tell us about the demand?
Or the price?
Yes. No, the demand.
You are looking at the answer. Okay.
Yes. What does it say? If the price is it's 1,000, what does it tell us? Like in conclusion.
Okay. It says, if you look at the conclusion, you look at the value. So let's go back to the first one. Before we do, you'll make your own conclusion looking at your exercise. Because we got 3 and 3 is greater than 1, and that tells us the demand is elastic at this price. So it means it can increase. And we can further say that the 1% increase or decrease in the price will cause a 3% increase or decrease in demand. Do you understand me?
1% increase in price will cause 3%.
1% increase in price will cause a 3% decrease in demand.
Decrease.
Yes.
Okay.
So it means you look at your exercise, and the conclusion will be along those lines.
All right.
Okay. You'll do the rest, which is where now the P is 1,200 and the last one is P is equals to 600. So it's still the same procedure. You're still going to use the same formula where we say P subscript D is equals to negative B times the change times P O divided by QO. So this is the formula to use for the remaining 2 examples. So now we are moving. Now we are going to do what is called the arc price elasticity of demand. So where we say formula that is given is the same. which is equals to the change in Q divide the change in P, which is times half, open brackets, P1 plus P2 divide by Q1 plus Q2. So we can further simplify this. And if you remember, we said this is our slope, where we say our slope is negative b equals to the change in Q divide the change in P. So it means when we see this, we can just substitute it by negative b, which is our slope. So this will cancel each other. Then we ended up having P1 plus P2. We use this side to make it clear. And Q1 plus Q2. So if we calculate the arc price elasticity of demand, it means this is the formula that you're going to use. So we'll take the very same example. Q equals to 4,800 minus 2P. Then, and the question says, given this function, to determine the arc elasticity if price increase, the price increase from 1,000 to 1,500, we need to find the quantity demand of these prices. So for us to find the quantity of these prices, so we are given the prices, two prices, which is they range from 1,000 to 1,005. So what we are going to do now, we are going to do something similar to what we have done when we are calculating the price elasticity of demand. So we'll take 1,000 first to say, okay, Q is equals to 4,800 minus 2 open brackets. We have 1,000, which is here, where our price are ranging. Then we simplify that. And when we simplify that, we ended up having we have Q there. In that case, Q is 2,800. Then we do the same thing. So we say Q in this case equals to, remember, we used 1,000. This time around, we're going to use 1,005. 4,800 minus 2, where we see P now, we substitute it by 1,500. Then we simplify that. Our answer becomes 1,800. So we have 2,800, 1,800. That will represent our Q1 and Q2. We also have a given value of our P1 and P2. So what do we do now? We just have to take these two values, and also these two values, they represent our prices. And we have these two values that represent our quantities. So what do we do now? We say, okay, let's take the information that we calculated and we just substitute it from the given equation. And we are saying the given equation, here is the equation. Or let me just make big brackets in this case. We have P there, P1 plus P2, all over Q1, Q2. So we are still using the very same demand function where we said our demand function is Q equals to 4,000 minus 2P. So we are saying, okay, in this case, we want the value of our slope, which is negative B, and it's given from that function that I just called now. So our slope is still -2 from the given equation. So here we'll have our values. You can use multiplication. It's up to you which one you prefer, the brackets or use the sign multiplication. Then we have our 1,000, which is our first price, plus the second price, which is 1.5. Then we have 800, which was calculated using 1,000, plus 1,800. So what we're trying to do here, we're trying to find the interval from the given values. So we simplify what we have. You can say we have -2, open bracket. Then we simplify this part. And when we simplify it, we ended up having 0.54, close brackets. Then we multiply, we ended up having -1.08. So this is our value that we have. And when you look at this value, when you apply the rule, we apply the rule. Then our value that you can see it's greater than 1. So it means demand is elastic over the given interval. Why? Because if you look at the value, it's going to be 1.08. And this value is greater than the elasticity of demand. So this is how you calculate the price elasticity of demand. Questions?
I think it's very clear, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Where do we go now? We think we are done with elasticity of demand. Now we go to let's go to going to the price elasticity of supply. The price elasticity if you remember the equation of or the function of supply, we say the function of supply is equals to, this is C plus D E. This is the same function that we spoke about on Monday, which is Q, and we have our constant there, which is C, and D, we have our price that is denoted by P. So from this, we have to come up with the function or the equation, or yes, you can say the slope of the elasticity. This time is denoted by subscript S. So means this is we are calculating, it tells us we are calculating elasticity of supply. Where we say elasticity of demand, we used subscript D. So this time it's S rather, because we're talking about supply. So you say it's equals to change in quantity that is supplied quantity quantity supplied. Divide by percent change in price. And we know that the change in quantity divided the change in price which is times. The procedure is still the same, people. I skipped other steps, meaning in this case, we're supposed to have your 100 change in Q divided by Q. Or we can just from here, let's say this is Q. Okay. Q times 100 divided by change in P divided by P times 100. So it means before this step, we're supposed to do this, which is similar of what we have done when we're deriving the formula of elasticity of demand. So it's still the same thing. So we say, okay, this still going to change because now, if you remember, we said the slope of supply this is the slope of supply. And we said the slope of demand, just to remind you, somehow they are similar. It's just the other one, it has a negative slope. The other one, it has a positive slope. Okay. So now, because now we're talking about supply, so it means this is our slope. So our slope is going to be positive. Then we have there D times this divided by Q. So it means this is going to be our formula that you're going to use in order for us to find the price elasticity of supply. Okay, so we also have a similar equation if we have to calculate the elasticity of supply. So the arc of elasticity of supply still similar to the arc of demand times half, open brackets, P plus P1 plus P2, close brackets, divide by half again, Q1 plus Q2, close brackets, and we say this is equals to, D equals to the change in Q divided the change in P. So it means where we say this, we can put D. So we have our D there times this will fall off. Then we ended up having times P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2. So it means in case where we want to calculate the interval, this is what we are going to use for the calculating for elasticity of supply. So for demand, the difference is going to be that our slope there is going to be negative B. But if you look at the formula, the formulas are the same. The only difference is just our slope. So this is for demand, whereby the top one is for supply. Okay, so now we know this is the formula that you are going to use for us to calculate for ARC if we want to know what is the interval between the two. But if we want to know the exact value of our elasticity supply, we said the formula is going to be, this is D times P divided by Q. This is for elasticity of supply, and this one is for arc elasticity of supply. Let's take an example. Okay, the given information we say consider the supply function P equals to 10 plus 0.5 Q which we can transform to Q equals to -20 plus 2 P. So it means this was the original, and this original was transformed to this new equation, which is Q equals to -20 plus 2P. The point elasticity of supply at price P is 25 Rand, where Q is 30, close brackets. So from the given information, we are supposed to calculate the elasticity of supply. And we're saying elasticity of supply is denoted by E subscript S equals to, we have our D there times our P divided by Q. So from the given information, we can see that we have our slope, which is +2 there, times, and it says the point elasticity of supply at a price 25 Rand. So that represents our P there, which is 25, divided by where the quantity of the product that is valued 25 Rand is. It's 30. We can put the brackets, it's up to you. Then we simplify, we ended up having 1.67. So it means after finding the value, so we have to conclude, is this elastic, inelastic, or is it unit elastic? But looking at the value is positive, and the value is greater than, it's greater than 1. And we have elasticity which is less than 1. The last one, it will be unit elasticity, which is equals to 1. So looking at the value it falls here. So meaning if we substitute where we see elasticity supply, here we put 1.67. So you can see that the value is greater than 1. So we conclude that this is elastic. So that is in the case whereby we are calculating price elasticity of function. That's the value. Questions? Questions, good people? That was our last example. No question.
No questions, sir. Thank you.
No questions, sir.
Okay. If we don't have questions or anything that we want to raise, we can close our session. But if we have something to raise or something to make me aware of, we can talk about it before we close our session.
Sir, may I please ask, please? Hello?
I'm listening. Continue.
I'm currently doing a differentiation. I'm on the product rule. So
Okay.
I get the variables right, but my problem is simplifying at the end of the equation, like the answer. So may you please try to show us a simpler way of simplifying, like show us how did they get to that simplification on the study guide answers, the questions in the study guide. Can you just, those 5 questions, just show us how they got those answers?
Okay, you are saying it's under the differentiations.
Yeah, the product rules.
The product rules. Oh, okay. I will do that, or I'll talk to my colleague to do that, or I will do that. Depending who's doing the session. If it's me, I'll work on it then and send a different version of the answers.
Yes, just show us how did the simplest way of how they got to the answer, because in the study guide, they just show how they just show the final answer. Like
Okay, they don't show the steps from maybe step 1 up to the last or the final step.
They do show the steps, but from, let's say they've got 5 steps before an answer, but from step number 4 to step number 5, they don't really show how they got those answers.
Okay. I will do that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything before we close? Okay, if there's no question, we can close our session. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.